While we're getting ready and everybody's preparing, I want to tell you a quick little story, and there's a reason for it. Over here, there's a picture of a little girl, and she's with the governor, and he's got a big smile on his face, and he's got his arm around her. What happened is we got to go at Christmas to the governor's mansion, and we need to go for it. I think you buy the picture. I think you buy the picture. I think you buy the picture. Well, my niece goes sits down by him, and she says something. He looked at her, and he looked at this camera lady, and he said, "Give me a second." He looked at his two assistants. He said, "I'll go over there." And they sit there talking like old friends. This is the governor of the state of Texas. And that second, he turned into a grandpa. What I'm trying to explain is every candidate on the stage has a granddaughter, a daughter, a son, and I expect them to be treated the way you want your family to be treated, because we're all human. And so that's the reason I brought that. And then the end of the story is when she got up and she walked over. I looked at her and I said, "Well, what did you tell the governor?" She said, "I sat down, I looked at him, I said, 'Hey, can you get Big Don on the phone?'" So, yeah, that's my release. But that's all I ask you is treat people like they're your family. That's what it is. It's Fayette County. Nothing derogatory. Be civil and let's enjoy this thing. So, is it 1 o'clock? Okay. Welcome to Fayette County Republican Party. We're going to do an invocation real quick. Joe, if you would not mind doing that, please.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together today for the betterment of Fayette County and help us discern for our own individual choices who we think would best lead our county forward in the future. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We're going to start with the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Yeah!
I'd like to thank KVLG and KPK Radio, who is broadcasting this live. I would like to thank K-Time Radio, who's broadcasting it live. I'd like to thank Fayette County Record. One thing I will say when it's broadcast live like this at intermission, be careful what you say. Don't be talking about the deer you shot on your neighbor's property or lady somebody in packages you bought, because it will still be able to be heard up there. So, as far as moderators, we have Mr. Joe Jameson, Assistant Moderator David Barr, he's Precinct 207 Chair, Timekeepers are Tom Cabina, and Assistant Doug Dibbins, Security, Sheriff Keith Krennick has donated his time, and Sound Manager is David Stahl. One thing I want to say real quick, because I don't want to keep it long, people ask a lot about elections, and they talk a lot about elections. We have our former election administrator, Sherry Hefner, here, who did a wonderful job. If I can explain how it works a little bit, our Fayette County Sheriff's Department literally delivers the election machines and boxes to the precincts with cameras in car, and then picks them up and delivers it back. Ms. Donna Mychick is our new elections administrator. There are 254 counties in Fayette County, in Texas. I will guarantee if they ever audited, Fayette County will be in the top 1%. That's how professional these people are. And I want to thank them very much. Last thing I want to say, and I'm going to close this out so the candidates come up. When I ran for this job, I thought, that's easy stuff. It's, you can do. Well, when I got in, I figured out it ain't easy. Between the politics of it, the people, the training, the classes, it's a volunteer job, but the money. And I needed help. I mean, I learned early I needed a lot of help when I started work. The one person who has saved my rear end, and I call all the time for help, is Miss Deborah Frank. And I would like for y'all to give her a round of applause. So without further ado, we're going to get the candidates. And which one do you want to start with? Precinct 2. Precinct 2. I know, where's the ballots? Or if you can set ballot order, A. Pace, Chad Tiemann, and Clint Sternall. If y'all three can come up in that order, and I'm going to let the boss man take over. Thank y'all.
Good afternoon, everybody. A couple of quick announcements before we get started. All candidates that are participating in this forum are legally permitted to be included on the 2026 Republican Party primary ballot based on current Texas election laws. Candidates, please silence all electronic devices when seeking questions. Candidates must focus their responses on their own experience, accomplishments, and qualifications for the office they are seeking. Candidates must not disparage other candidates. If a candidate makes disparaging remarks about another candidate, they will receive one warning. If they continue, they will lose the remainder of their time for that question. With the third attack, they will be removed from the candidate tables. Each candidate must pay attention to timekeeper cards. They will have 3 minutes for opening remarks in ballot order, 1.5 minutes response time per prepared questions that I ask, 1 minute response time per audience question, and then 2 minutes at the end each for closing remarks. All candidates will be given the opportunity to answer each question. Questions will be repeated for each candidate before their response. Candidates should listen carefully to the questions and answer them completely. They may ask the moderator to repeat the question if needed, but their time will not be extended. The initial question will be addressed to the candidates starting in ballot order, as previously stated, A. Pace, Chad Tiemann, and Clint Sternall. Each subsequent question will be initially directed to the next candidate in the ballot order, so that each candidate will have questions directed to them first. Any questions on those elements? Okay. So my first question is for Mr. Pace. In your opinion, what could be done to mitigate the county's expense to repair damage to our county roads in Precinct 2 by commercial vehicles and 18-wheelers?
My understanding so far in the past, they've been doing road bonds where they give like $80,000 and it's refunded. Later, if the road is not damaged, sometimes they do keep it occasionally, but that money is intended to help support the roads to hold up under those conditions more than it is to really repair them. It seems to be pretty effective. I know a few times they actually have kept the money for that, and I think the oil companies particularly are pretty expecting to forfeit that money anyway, because they do understand the damage they cause. And then being personal with it, give them a chance to use appropriate routes and give a heads up that they're going to be doing something on that road does help them also.
And I'm sorry, I got out of order here. If you would, go ahead and give, please, your opening statement.
Okay, Abraham Pace, lived in Precinct 2 my entire life. Lived in Fayetteville about 3 years after high school, attended Glenn College. Went 2 years, got my associate's with a business degree and an ag minor. Pretty much my whole life I've been self-employed, running an agricultural business, doing fertilizer, hay, taking care of livestock. been here the whole time at my age of 49 years old now. Started, really young back then. I've enjoyed it. I've appreciated Precinct 2. I've known a lot of the people here. I look forward to maybe getting a chance to know everybody else a little more and hearing more opinions. And it's an honor to be here. I appreciate y'all showing up.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. I would like to thank Fayette County Republican Party for organizing this forum. My name is Chad Keeman. I'm a fifth generation Fayette County resident. My wife Christy and I live in Ellinger, Georgia, where we proudly raised our daughter Cassidy. I'm a graduate of Round Top Farming High School and have been actively involved in multiple community volunteer organizations and continue to do so. I began my career with Precinct 2 Road and Bridge Department in January 2019. Before joining the county, I worked in the private sector, performing private property management and with the Texas Star Transport and Road and Bridge Base Material Company. I gained valuable experience managing people, keeping projects on schedule within budget, and gaining knowledge of road and base materials, and building relationships with local vendors and suppliers, which Fayette County is contracted with. These attributes continue to serve me as I work for our local government. I have worked on hands-on in the role of county and road bridge construction, equipment maintenance, operation, meeting with landowners and contractors on behalf of the county. Emergency call-out response, and I have been entrusted to make decisions on purchasing of county vehicles, supplies in accordance with county guidelines. I've also worked alongside other precinct commissioners, giving solid understanding of how the court precinct should work together. Because of my current position for the last 7 years, I understand the responsibilities and the day-to-day functions of being a full commissioner. I believe a commissioner should lead by doing, being on the roads, in the shop working alongside other employees, and accessible to citizens of Precinct 2. My approach is simple: plan, prepare, and perform. Preparation protects the public interest by reducing wasteful spending, making sure projects are done right the first time. My focus is proactive maintenance, public safety of the citizens and employees, and being a responsible steward of your tax dollars. Fayette County is facing real challenges, increasing growth, infrastructure needs, and major facility decisions. I believe practical and involved leadership is needed more than ever. I'm proud of my Fayette County roots, committed to serving Precinct 2 with integrity, common sense, and hard work. Thank you.
Mr. Chernow. Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who came out today, and I appreciate the opportunity to visit and talk with you about the work that we're doing in Precinct 2. My name is Clint Starnottle, and I'm running to remain as your Fayette County Commissioner. I was born and raised right here in Fayette County. This is my home. My wife Christy and I are raising our 2 young children in the same community that helped shape who I am. It's not just a talking point for me, it's personal. The decisions made by this county today affect the county that my kids will see tomorrow. I'm a graduate of Texas A&M University with a degree in agri-systems management and a minor in business. That background matters in a county like ours, where rural land, private property rights, and responsible growth all intersect. I've been employed by Fayette County since 2017, and before becoming commissioner, I worked inside the county government and learned how this system actually operates. Not just one department, but the whole picture. That experience has proven invaluable. In the past 8 months as your commissioner, we've delivered results that you can see. We've managed the resurfacing of more than 17 miles of road. We've ensured that all 235 miles of Precinct 2 were mowed at least 4 times. We've overseen the replacement of 3 bridges, and I've completed a continuing education in county government and earned an appointment to the Texas Capital Executive Committee. I've worked to ensure that your tax dollars are used efficiently. But the job of county commissioner doesn't just stop at roads. I've spent a significant amount of time working for the county in code enforcement, property divisions, and subdivision regulation, protecting landowners and enforcing rules both fairly and openly, and making sure that growth is done right the first time. I've helped draft and implement 5 subdivision ordinance amendments, that help protect rural property owners and prevent problems before they become expensive mistakes. The part of the job people don't always see, but it's where experience, judgment, and fairness matter the most. My leadership style is very hands-on, collaborative, and straightforward. I believe in listening, asking questions, and making decisions based on facts, not politics. I believe in balancing growth with preservation of heritage and progress with common sense. Fayette County is facing some very real challenges: infrastructure demands, rising costs, and long-term planning decisions that will shape this county for decades to come. I'm running for this position because I believe we should build on the progress we've made and not start over. I've proven I can do the job, not just on day one, but every day after that. And I'd be honored to earn your support in this coming election.
Thank you. And Mr. Tanner, I'll repeat the question for you. In your opinion, what can be done to mitigate the county's expense to repair damage to our county roads by commercial vehicles and 18-wheeler traffic?
As was said with Ellinger, there is a road bond that is set up, and they need to hold up to what the bond is and make everyone hold them accountable for the actions and so forth, for the traffic and so forth that's tearing up the roads.
All right. Mr. Sternall, you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
In your opinion, what can be done to mitigate the county's expense to repair damage to our county roads by commercial vehicles and 18-wheeler traffic?
So the best tool that the county has to mitigate those expenses, as others have said, is the road bond. That road bond was developed by the county attorney's office with the late Mr. Stryker. When that was all being developed, I had a chance to be a part of that conversation, and the county sat down with a few oil companies that are very active in our area and said, how can we meet in the middle? How can we not hold you guys up, but how can we take this burden off the taxpayers? Primarily with the oil activity, a small couple landowners get the big benefit, and everybody else splits the bill. So when that road bond's in place, we negotiate the route beforehand, make all the taxpayers aware of where that traffic's going to happen. Most often, our sheriff's department does a great job taking some footage of the road in pre-construction conditions, and the commissioner will follow up with the post-construction oil field completion activities. That's been a great asset for the county. It's cut down a ton on taxpayer dollars coming from all areas of the county, especially when we're all aware of the oil activities kind of focus. With that relationship with our local oil and gas production guys has been great. They're on board with it, and as long as we don't slow them down, they're more than willing to cut the check. And it's been an immense savings to the time of the county and the taxpayer dollars.
Thank you, sir. We'll start the next question. We'll start with Mr. Tiemann. Mr. Tiemann, what do you think is the most important task of the county commissioner and why?
Well, improving county infrastructure is one of them, and to be a representative of the county is a good one. And I feel, civic duty and so forth for the county.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sternall, I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the most important task of the county commissioner and why?
I think the most important task of a county commissioner is being a good steward of his people. At the role on the base level at the precinct office, doing the road work is a big expense. Being a good steward of your taxpayer dollars there. When your county commissioner's at the courthouse, being a good steward of the beliefs of his people and being a representative of them there. You're the elected person to speak for your area, your precinct, and making sure that the complaints that you receive are heard. Solutions people have, because they're all brought to the commissioner beyond the county barn, beyond the courthouse, on a state and regional level. It's a commissioner's job to be a representative of all of Fayette County, more than just your precinct. And expressing to those areas, hey, these are the needs we have here locally. This is the funding support we need locally. This is the legislative support we need locally. And so being a voice for your people and being a good steward of their time, their resources, and the county's resources.
Thank you, Mr. Sternall. Mr. Pace, what do you think is the most important task of the county commissioner and why?
Helping me setting the tax rate, using those funds appropriately, being a good leader at the county board, taking opinions of the public, as the taxpayers are, and, well, even the taxpayers that aren't voters, and taking those opinions and putting them in with the other commissioners and coming up with a plan, giving money appropriately in the places where it helps with our safety, our health, and our well-being, and giving that money back to the community effectively with the services and what the county does in general.
Thank you, sir. Moving right along. Mr. Sternall, would you support the implementation of a hospital tax district if the issue arose again? Why or why not?
I would not support a hospital tax district. I believe that the county has enough facilities to maintain and operate without another one. In the process that the hospital has gone through, and to my understanding, there's a private firm that's going to be opening it very soon. I believe it's gone the route that it needs to be, and I would not support a hospital tax.
Mr. Pace.
From my understanding, the hospital tax district has got nothing to do with the county. The county only puts it up for the vote, and then the public votes on that taxing district. I don't think the county should discourage it at all about its creation and its allowance to get into the public to have the vote for it. It would be specifically up to the voters to determine that. But I do not believe that the Commissioners Court should oppose it in any fashion. It would simply come up with a vote, unless I misunderstood something else. As far as the county funding a hospital, I think we're probably better off letting it be run as a private enterprise. And if the taxing district was used to support that in some fashion, I don't think it's up to the county or Commissioners Court to deem it bad.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Teeman, I'll repeat the question for you. Would you support the creation of a hospital tax district? And if yes or no, if you would, why or why not?
No, I would not support the tax, because if it's going to be owned by a private entity, they need to, help support that. And more tax on the people here, you want to try to keep your tax, as low so people aren't paying a lot of taxes here. So I think that ought to be involved with the private entity that's taking it over, not putting the burden on the taxpayers here.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Pace, back to you now for this question. What changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Precinct 2 and Fayette County in general?
And good leadership, honesty, and letting the road and bridge do what they need to do. I think they're experienced enough. I probably think Ken knows that as well as anybody else. They're a good group of people, and they really just need to have the ability to do the job correctly. Hopefully get up their moral and self-esteem a little bit, let them know that they are good at what they do. As far as Precinct 2 goes, the biggest concern in the public is probably the antique fair. I'd love to see that thing organize itself in some way, mainly for our safety and all the visitors into this county. It's a good thing for a lot of people. It does always property values, but it is a lot of economic value to our area. A lot of people really rely on that 2 months, to do well, and it needs to go forward safely. Otherwise, they pretty much, done a good job so far. I think it needs to continue.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Teeman, what changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Precinct 2 and Fayette County in general?
I think there needs to be a cross-training program, because you got guys that are there that are on equipment, or work equipment that aren't really, I'm trying to say, as knowledgeable about the equipment. You have guys that are going to be retiring soon. I think we need to have a training program if you're going to have new hires, because the old guys are gone, and then you're going to have the new guys pick up where the old guys leave off. And there's another emphasis on public safety and stuff on crossroads and stuff like that, have some warnings and so forth. Because as everybody knows, the county roads are getting a whole lot busier nowadays than they were back in the past years. And there's a lot more road traffic. There's people that move here, they don't know a lot of the roads like the people that live around here do. And I think it needs to have a little bit more emphasis on safety on that. And then also, speak up and voice opinions in Commissioner's Court. And people need to go to those things and voice your opinion and see what needs to be done and see if we can't get it taken care of. And working with all the other commissioners and Commissioner's Court. That's a good thing, that everybody can get along and you can get stuff motivated there.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Cernal, in your opinion, what changes or improvements would you focus on to positively guide the future of Precinct 2 and Fayette County in general?
Some of the changes and improvements, starting with the county barn at Precinct 2, I think we need to update some of the routine practices and policies, and some of those we've already started on those changes. Specifically with our call-out system and how your Precinct 2 employees respond in a storm, whether they're shutting down a road for high water or responding to a tree down. We've started implementing some changes to that kind of dated system that better manage employee overtime and safety. When they're out in the weather, we've already implemented changes to that process and adding new safety equipment and protect those guys. Like I said, the roads are getting busier. There's a lot of interface with traffic, and the employees at Precinct 2 are the biggest asset to them. They're the guys doing the work. Those guys doing the work are the same guys who've been doing the work for the previous 10 years, and protecting those assets with equipment and safety policy is a big change that needs to happen. And long-term planning, both at the county barn and at the courthouse level, projecting costs and how to mitigate those costs for the next year and the year after that will be a big cost savings if we can look ahead and create some type of a schedule for those financial expenses.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Teeman, it's your turn, and this is the question for you. All indications are that residential growth is coming to Fayette County, bringing with it all the benefits and headaches that it will entail. Would you encourage population growth in the county? If so, how could this be accomplished?
Encourage population growth. Well, it's always good to have, population growth that brings in more income for the county, and it helps out there. It's just a lot of things have to be looked at and, revised and so forth like that with the growth and the population that would be coming in. But which it would also, like I said, it would bring in more revenue for the county.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sternado, I'll ask you the question immediately. All indications are that residential growth is coming to Fayette County, bringing with it all the benefits and headaches that it will entail. Would you encourage population growth in the county? If so, how could this be accomplished?
The previous 8 years, a little more that I've worked for the county, I was in our permitting office, and I'm intimately familiar with the growth and the headaches that come with that growth. And I think it's the commissioner's responsibility to positively manage that growth while still preserving the essential heritage of Fayette County and its resources. Had a firsthand in several amendments to our subdivision ordinance to help protect those things. Essentially, we need growth. We don't want to dry up to a ghost town, but that growth needs to be managed in a positive manner so that we get protection of our resources, we get protection of landowners' rights without government overreach. That takes a fine balance to protect your neighbors, but to also protect private property owners' rights.
Thank you, Mr. Sternal. Mr. Pace, all indications are that residential growth is coming to Fayette County, bringing with it all the benefits and headaches that it will entail. Would you encourage population growth in the county as a commissioner? If so, how could this be accomplished?
I think population growth is going to be an indicator of how well the county is and how well it's represented, how we spend our money, how we take care of each other and look forward. Growth has its drawbacks, I'm sure, but if we keep this a desirable county to be, and I think growth is going to happen. I don't know that I would be looking to get growth, but it's a good indicator for growth that we have a desirable place and we're doing the job right, that Commissioner's Court is doing what you're supposed to do.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Sternal, rural areas have come under increased pressure to be the backyard where alternative energy, battery storage, data centers, and so forth are installed. For conservative Republican, this creates tension between the advocates of free market property rights and advocates for quiet enjoyment rights of neighboring properties. In the past few years, the will of Fayette County voters has largely been to say, not in my backyard, to local government entities asked to subsidize such installations via tax abatements. Explain, if you will, your position on this thorny and controversial issue.
Yes, sir. I've sat through almost every one of those commissioners' board meetings where the solar farm tax abatement was up for discussion, where the windmill discussion came to commissioners' court. I was there. I had a seat at the table for all those discussions, and I think it's a pretty unanimous opinion of Fayette County landowners that they don't support these endeavors and that they hope their representatives stay the same. That's great for an opinion, and I think the commissioners need to be very cautious of where government's role intersects private property owners' rights. I think as a commissioner, it's certainly your role to speak for your precinct, speak for your county, and get ahead of some of these things. The whole green energy and the entities you described coming to Fayette County, it's a new concept. This isn't anything compared to the oil and gas that we can look on and say, hey, we've seen the pitfalls, we've seen where they do good, where they do bad. This is a new area, and I'd rather not have Fayette County be the trial and error. I think we can respect property owners' rights, but still speak for our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Tiemann. Mr. Pace, I'll repeat the question for you. It's really a statement and a question. Rural areas have come under increased pressure to be the backyard where alternative energy, battery storage, data centers, and so forth are installed. For a conservative Republican, this creates tension between free market property rights advocates and advocates for quiet enjoyment rights of neighboring properties. In the past few years, the will of the Fayette County voters has largely been to say, not in my backyard, to local government entities asked to subsidize such installations via tax abatements. Explain your position on this controversial issue.
I fall both in between there. I don't think the county should actively try to absolutely prohibit it. I know that on the solar farms at Humboldt Dune, every one I read up on for that energy company got an 80% abatement. And so at that point, I think the Commissioners Court almost was supporting and promoting it. I don't think myself, I wish they wouldn't have given the abatement. The revenue out of that solar farm would have been pretty significant and a whole lot easier to take. Myself, I don't want the wind farm. I don't like the solar panels myself either. I have that right as an owner of a property in this county to not inhibit my neighbors with such a decision. I think everybody else will. If you listen to our neighbors and if it's popular opinion, don't give them the abatement and let the county vote. Let them have an opinion on it, and it's something appropriately can be done. But blindly sending a letter to the state legislature a couple of years ago, I spoke up about that. They did that without my consent, without my opinion ever being taken, except for an online poll through Facebook. There's more appropriate ways of doing things like that, because I think the letter was a useless waste of my tax dollars even to write it and put the postage stamp on it. I think something more appropriate could have been done, starting with not breaking the abatement, which on the battery farm, I think that's what they did, is they didn't award the abatement, and it went away. And so I felt that they did their job the second time better.
Thank you. Mr. Teeman, rural areas have come under increased pressure to be the backyard where alternative energy, battery storage, data centers, and so forth are installed. For a conservative Republican, this creates tension between free market advocates of property rights and advocates for private enjoyment rights of neighboring properties. In the past few years, the will of Fayette County voters has largely been to say, not in my backyard. The local government entities asked to subsidize such installations via tax abatements. Explain your position on this controversial issue.
Well, thank you. There's tax abatements. I mean, if we get that, it needs to be, used wisely. But, I'm there with having to have something like that needs to be voted on and be better looked into before making decisions with that.
Thank you, sir. The county gives significant amounts of money to local charities. Is this an appropriate use of county tax dollars? If so, to which organizations and why? Mr. Pace.
They give a lot of donations. I think 2 cents goes to fire departments. I personally, member in Ledbetter, I think it's done great things for the fire department. It's relieved a lot of burden on some of the donations. We've been able to use it effectively. I think fire departments have done a great job as far as using the donations, which is 2 cents, but appropriately. And I think all organizations can do that. Animal shelters, one I watched several years ago, came up and said we need more money because stuff costs more. And that was effectively it. And man, if you can't make a better argument for that, you shouldn't get the extra money. That's just my opinion on it. And if people aren't claiming for that money, it shouldn't be handed to them. That was just one case where I seen it. Other entities are like, well, we need to pay people more. And I get it. Everybody needs to get a little more money eventually. But there needs to be arguments made behind it to justify its use and how it gets attributed to that entity, no matter what it is. And it's got no disrespect on any person getting donations from the county. Some of mine left scratching my head on just a little bit. And they are to be used as well as anything that builds a road. It should be used appropriately and the best way, efficiently as you can.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Teeman. The county gives significant amounts of money to local charities. Is this an appropriate use of county tax dollars? If so, to which organizations and why?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, you need to help everybody out as much as you can. It just needs to be used wisely, and distribute out where it needs to be and focus on things. I know there's, like the fire departments and stuff, they do a lot of stuff for us, but like the animal shelter and that's a big chunk maybe if we could have some of the rural cities or whatever towns here to help pay for a little of that, put in instead of it all coming out of the county's budget, I think would be a big help also. So then you could kind of distribute some, to some other little entities that might need a little bit more.
Thank you, Mr. Teeman. Mr. Sternadel, the county gives significant amounts of money to local charities. Is this an appropriate use of county tax dollars? If so, to which organizations and why?
I think these donations are an excellent use of county tax dollars. Some of the organizations that receive money from the county, aside from the fire departments, are some mental health and special needs nonprofits, as well as the animal shelter, as well as some elderly meal service organizations. And the service those nonprofits provide, Ms. Brown with the animal shelter gave an excellent presentation to Commissioner's Court before. He said, look, and she put pen to paper and dollars to the table there and said, look, if the county doesn't help us keep this going, this is the financial cost that's going to hit the county. If they weren't keeping the animal population in check with the services they provide, now the county's going to hire personnel to do it. Now the county's going to build and run a facility to do it, do the maintenance on that facility. She had an excellent presentation that described why it's a great use of county funds. And the same concept with the nonprofits that provide the special needs services and some mental health services for folks in our county. How would the county pick that up if it weren't for these organizations? I think it's absolutely an excellent need for that, and I wish there was a way to do more for them from the county standpoint. And I think they're essential.
Thank you, Mr. Sternadel. That concludes our questions, and now each candidate will be allowed their closing remarks, 2 minutes each, and we'll start with Mr. Teeman.
I'd like to thank my family and friends for their continued support. I believe our county leadership should be hands-on, transparent, and accountable. I will work to make our precinct safer for more efficient, spend our money wisely by engaging proactive maintenance on our roads and equipment. And I'll work with other members, Commissioners Court, to balance the budget, keep our tax rate low. Because of my experience with Fayette County and the Road and Bridge Department, my commitment to serve the citizens of Precinct 2. I feel I'm the best candidate for the position. My intention is to leave this precinct better than I found it. I respectfully ask for your vote for the upcoming primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teeman. Mr. Sternadel.
As I've been out speaking with folks in Precinct 2, a common question I've been asked is, how did you get here, and how does this appointment process work? When the previous commissioner retired before the end of his term, the position doesn't just automatically go to anyone. There was a formal process. I applied for the position, just like others who were interested in sitting here with me today. I was interviewed by the county judge, along with 4 other candidates. After that process, I was appointed to finish out the term, with a clear understanding that 6 months later, I would have to run for election in order to remain in this role. So from the beginning, this has always been, and still is, up to the voters. What qualified me for my appointment to this position is my background in the work that I was already doing. I earned my degree from Texas A&M in Ag Systems Management, which focuses on infrastructure, project planning, budgeting, and real-world problem solving. All things that directly apply to our local county government. Before coming to work for the county, I also worked for a superintendent for a major commercial construction company, where I managed several large-scale projects, coordinated crews, and stayed on schedule. Making sure projects were done the right way, not just the easy way. On top of that, I was already working closely with the county in areas like road and bridge, project coordination, and the day-to-day county needs, which meant that I didn't come into this role with a learning curve. I already understood how the county worked and was ready to hit the ground running on day one. My experience with Fayette County, regulations, and serving as your TCEQ designated representative allowed me to manage water quality and code enforcement were all a qualifying factor in my appointment. I appreciate folks wanting to understand the process, and when it's time to vote, I encourage everyone to base that decision on experience, qualifications, and proven performance.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pace?
I look at this as a taxpayer. Having been on the county roll, I participate with the fire department, which is strictly volunteer, no payment, just helps me get done what we need to do over there with the county money. That's the only thing I get done in the county. I look at it as a taxpayer, I look at the rights of the property owner, I look at it as the voter and the people that occupy this county, the ones that come in, the ones that come through. I look for this county to be beneficial to all of us and using those funds to do it. I take it personal when I see money go somewhere that I don't like. I am the one that fussed about the backhoe that went to a place it shouldn't have gone. I fussed about the work that was done to it before it got there. I'm the one that made the police report I got to look into. Unfortunately, it seems like nothing really happened with that. Might never will. But one way to take care of it sure is to sit up in that courthouse and make sure that that money goes where it's supposed to go. And if it doesn't, I wouldn't have a way of saying it shouldn't be there. So I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you for your time on behalf of them as well. But I'm the one that will fight for the taxpayer and the people of this county.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, we're gonna get back on track. We got a little ahead of ourselves and told the candidates to give their closing remarks, but now we're gonna go back to the audience questions. And thanks to everybody who submitted a question. We're moving on.
So we'll start with Mr. Sternall this round. These are audience questions. Everybody's info. Can you describe a situation where you were responsible for making decisions that affected public funds, and what did you learn from that experience?
That situation has been this previous year's county budget. I was one of the 5 seats at the table with this past year's budget. Beyond just the budget as a whole, I sat on the county salary committee, and we worked on a significant new insurance adjustment for the county that was a very extensive conversation. And I think working with the group we had, we were able to still deliver the quality of benefits to the county employees without taking anything away from our county budget. I feel very proud of the budget we had this past year. I think it's a great use of county tax dollars.
All right, thank you. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but you'll each have 1 minute for each of these questions. So the timekeeper will be your guide as usual. So we'll move on to Mr. Pace. Mr. Pace, can you describe a situation where you were responsible for making decisions that affected public funds, and what did you learn from that experience?
The only real one I do a lot with is with the fire department right there. 2 cents has been a huge help. I do fight for those funds we use appropriately to benefit the community. There's certain things I don't want to do with them. We do send Mr. Reed sends in a sheet every year to justify what we're doing. And I like what he does. I agree with him completely. But those are public funds that we're dealing with for the betterment of the community and everybody we service. You know, that's really the whole of it. I fought for the fire departments in general with the county to try to help gain that money. And I like to see that money used appropriately. And appropriateness is really what it comes down to on those funds.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pace. Mr. Teamy, can you describe a situation where you were responsible for making decisions that affected public funds, and what did you learn from that experience?
Well, when the previous commissioner was in there that retired, he put me in charge of looking at vehicles for the county. And I purchased 3 big trucks for the county and got them under budget, which was way under budget. because we only had a $50,000 budget to mess with at that time, before you'd have to, put them up for that. But then I was in charge of purchasing all the tires and parts and stuff, and then make sure we got the government grants and all that for when so we could get the cheapest part on the tires and all the grants.
Thank you, Mr. Teeman. All right, we're back to you, Mr. Pace, for this next question. How does the job of commissioner reach beyond road and bridge?
Biggest thing, as I said earlier, the biggest thing is the budget. Set the tax rate, using them funds appropriately, put them where they need to be for the best ability for this county to do what it does to help us. Keep property values high, keeping this a desirable place to be. Road and bridge, honestly, is quite a small part of the commissioner's job. People do expect to see them 40 hours a week. It's just not supposed to be necessarily only on the road. There's a lot more to that responsibility that you do in the courthouse, talking to other entities in the county that do their functions as well. It's a common place. The only tool the commissioner really has is set budgets and help those people do what they need to do.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Mr. Teeman, how does the job of commissioner reach beyond road and bridge?
Well, number one is you listen to the precinct 2 public, the public in precinct 2, and also the people in Fayette County. And we also, the biggest thing is, you adopt your county budget and keep the tax rate low. And make sure you approve all your purchases through the county and set all salaries and benefits, and fill vacancies, and that's a good thing. And provide all and maintain the county infrastructure. That's a good thing, and we just got a lot of that needs to be looked at.
Thank you, Mr. Teeman. Mr. Sternal, I'll repeat the question. How does the job of commissioner reach beyond road and bridge?
The road and bridge is just the base level of the commissioner's responsibilities. Along with his budget duties at the courthouse, the commissioner is also responsible for making sure all of our other county service departments, be it the police department, the EMS, our record-keeping department, that all those other places have the funds they need and the resources they need to do their job. Just like the guys at Precinct 2, they need the resources, they have the talent to do the job they need, because other county departments need that as well. Another big part of the county commissioner's job that I'm actively involved in is being an advocate at that state level. Again, that I sit on our executive committee for Fayette County in Austin once a month and express beyond just our Fayette County borders, what do we need here? How can we get state money down here to take some of that burden off the taxpayers? And so the boundaries of Precinct 2 and the boundaries of Fayette County are basically non-existent for the commission.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sternal. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Teeman. County commissioners work closely with other elected officials and department heads. What experience do you have collaborating in that type of environment?
I've worked with the other 3 county commissioners, helping them pay, do whatever they need to do. When they had guys that were out or they were shorthanded, I was always one of the ones to be called on to go help. And that was involvement with that. And then, anything they needed. And we helped put up a recycle center, and stuff like that, whatever they needed for that. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Teeman. Mr. Sternal, county commissioners work closely with other elected officials and department heads. What experience do you have collaborating in that type of environment?
For the whole past 8 years, my whole duration of working for the county, I have been working with the Commissioner's Court as our code enforcement and permitting office. I've seen just about every back road, every corner from Latonia to Schulenburg to Ellinger to Ledbetter. I've had a good relationship working with the commissioners there. worked with not just the other commissioners, but other county departments. As I said, we talked about the oil and gas permitting, the road bond. Those were all things that we had to work very closely with the county attorney's office, not just to get in place, but then to enforce. Had a great relationship working with the county clerk's office as far as plating requirements, recording requirements. That's a big, it's often overlooked because it's a quiet office, but that's a huge impact to our local landowners, the record keeping side as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sternall. Mr. Pace, county commissioners work closely with other elected officials and department heads. What experience do you have collaborating in that type of environment?
I really hate to sound repetitive here, but we do work with the sheriff's office, again, that's a lot of fire department. You gotta work relationships, you gotta let them do what they're supposed to do. That's one thing we learned about the fire department, we don't overstep our bounds. We do what we can to assist. These elected officials are meant to do a particular job to the best of their ability. Any assistance we get out of the public and through the Commissioner's Court is expected, but at the end of the day, they are responsible for their job, and we must allow them and help them get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Start the next question with Mr. Sternall. What is your position on dealing with the controversy between the county and the town of Round Top regarding the property on which the courthouse stands?
I think the commissioners have in the past and should in the future rely on their legal advice by the folks that are employed by the county. I think the commissioners don't always specialize in the very unique areas of the law, and perhaps not even the county attorneys. That's a very unique segment of the law, and taking their advice and even seeking outside advice on that very unique concept, and then the commissioners work to take that advice and advocate for its people, as well as keeping that advocacy based in a legal recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Sternall. Mr. Pace, what is your position on dealing with the controversy between the county and the town of Round Top regarding the property on which their courthouse stands?
I don't know a lot about that. A little bit of hearsay I did hear, like you said, with the legal counsel and stuff. It's always the best idea in a lot of these positions to advise precaution and proceed that way. And if something wasn't right, if there's precaution that wasn't met, then I think, yes, there should have been restriction, maybe should be put that later, they'll actually simpler. However, I think it's a done deal for now, though, isn't it? From what I understand of it, there's not a lot moving forward, and it probably needs to be taken back up appropriately with those precautions in place, so that they're confident that they will release it back to the city of Round Top. That, I think, would be appropriate. I have to look at it this way and say that I think they probably made the right decision. And I assume that they made this on precaution from what I understand talking to the other commissioners previously.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Mr. Tiemann, what is your position on dealing with the controversy between the county and the town of Round Top regarding the property on which their courthouse stands?
I believe they need to, take more interest in what the people have to say, and also it needs to be brought between the attorneys some more and looked at and do a little more investigation on what they need to do to get that taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Tiemann. Mr. Pace, we'll start with you on this next question. With the constant population growth in the county, do you foresee a time when the county will have to set up some rules and regulation, even quotas on water usage?
Without major industry moving in, I don't think we're going to really do a lot. Selling water like Rockdale did would cause some issues. So I could perceive as, that being an issue of some fashion, but I don't think population itself industry, agriculture, stuff like that are way bigger uses. And getting rid of some agricultural use will replace a whole lot of domestic use. So I think with the industry and maybe the right to sell water, out of the area would be the biggest concern, and that might be an issue.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Mr. Tiemann, with the constant population growth in the county, do you foresee a time when the county will have to set up rules and regulations, even quotas on water usage?
I'm not really for sure on that one, but I think it's something that we need to look into, because as you drive by and you know that we're in a drought now, and there's a lot of people that come in and they build these ponds, and they're filling ponds with groundwater. And, that's not a good thing either.
Thank you, Mr. Tiemann. Mr. Sternall, with the constant population growth in the county, do you foresee a time when the county will have to set up rules, regulations, even quotas on water usage?
So as we've had many subdivisions come through the county, this has been a recurring concept. At one of our previous Commissioners Court meetings, I had Mr. Van Dresser with the Groundwater District come give a presentation to the court. And the comment that he made is, we don't know how much is down there, and we don't know what quality it is. And so the point he was trying to make is to manage what we have and manage it to the best of our abilities. It's not that we may ever run out of water, but it drastically more expensive for our residential landowners to have access to clean water at an affordable rate. If you drilled a water well in this county in the past 5 years, you know all too well what that costs. And so protecting what we have with health and safety regulations is the primary thing we can do to prevent from getting to that point.
Thank you, Mr. Sternall. This will be the last question. And this is from the audience, so I'm just reading what's on the card. Fayette County is spending taxpayer money to surveil traffic on 237, State Highway 237 in Precinct 2, using AI-powered connected cameras, flock cameras is what they're called. How does surveillance on all residents protect us, and how do we prevent other government agencies from using them against us? We'll start with Mr. Tiemann.
I think that's something that's very new that's came out, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed through a text dot issue, because that's all on text dot highways.
All right, moving on to Commissioner Sternall. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Fayette County
Is spending taxpayer money to surveil passenger traffic on State Highway 237 in District 2, Precinct 2, using AI-powered nationally connected cameras, so-called flock cameras. How does surveillance on all residents protect us? How do we prevent other government agencies from using them to tell us what we can do?
I would agree that goes back to our relationships with our local entities here, like the text dot office. We've got an excellent IT department at the county. They probably know a whole lot more than that about flock cameras than I do. But just having that conversation, having that open conversation with them, where is this information going, and educating the public about it more would probably resolve a lot of nervous sentiment.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Pace, I'll repeat the question. Fayette County is spending taxpayer money to surveil passenger traffic on State Highway 237 in Precinct 2 using AI-powered nationally connected cameras, flock cameras. How does surveillance on all residents protect us? How do we prevent other government agencies from using them against us and telling us what we can do?
I think you're right. I mean, it sounds like a state issue there on 237. It's obviously a state road in the county. No, the sheriff's office has a box that needs for stolen vehicles. I'm sure that's tied into somewhere through the county, but I'm not aware of any other one that's, as far as I know, it's only the one they have. And that's who track the stolen vehicles. I know you go through that type of thing in toll roads all the time. You know, they're tied in there, they know. I don't think it's that uncommon, but as far as I know, the county doesn't participate in anything of that, any kind of surveillance on its people at all.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. That's all the questions I've got and the audience has for you. You already gave your closing remarks. Is there anything any you would like to add? I can give you 30 seconds.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the names too. I think they did a wonderful job. Working relationship with all three of us, and we're going to stay friends today, tomorrow, and the day after. And if one of us doesn't win, obviously two of us won't. I do plan that we will all still be able to work together, and we appreciate you making the voices heard in the primary. And let's do this and look forward to the judges speaking in a minute.
Mr. Teeman.
Yes, I would like to thank, sir.
Anything additional you'd like?
Okay. I would just like to thank all of y'all coming out. I want to thank Mike over here for letting us all come out here and be here and get this all organized together and hear our voice and what we had to say. And just glad y'all all came out and hopefully y'all support. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Teeman, and Mr. Sternall will go last.
Sir, and the same for all the members of the Republican Committee and all the volunteers that were here. This didn't happen overnight. I appreciate all the efforts y'all given.
Thank y'all very much.
Before we break, as I said, we have food back. It is free will donation. It's not too bad. We have some signs over here. They're free will donation. Everybody here working is a volunteer, and they're taking their Sunday to help y'all. And we appreciate it because you're taking your Sunday to be here and help us make this successful. We appreciate you. And the last thing, like I said, we have a piece of cardboard here, and you can come right on nice note. We appreciate it because we are going to send a nice note to Fayette County. Ms. Deborah?
Okay, we're not really taking a break. I'm calling up the next set of candidates for our county judge race. Josh Holman, Josh Vandiver, Craig Moreau, Michael Schweber, and William Burnses. Again, sit in ballot order that I just called, starting with the left-hand side of the stage, Josh Holman, then Josh Vandiver, then Craig, then Schweber, and then Burnses. Here's that.
See, I told y'all she always said
Can they all see the signs? The one behind us, close them. I tried to.
Well, I know. You
I
gotta
tried
make
to.
sure.
Yeah, I tried to put it a little more this way.
Yeah, make sure you can see.
Yeah.
You can have to see.
Yeah. I can see it. Yeah, right. Probably good. That should be good right there. No.
All right, we're going to get started again in the interest of everybody's time and Texas. Let's start over. It bears repeating that all candidates that are participating in this forum are legally permitted to be included on the 2026 Republican Party primary ballot based on current Texas election laws. Take your seats, please. We're going to start. For no-show candidates who send a representative, we will allow that person to make opening remarks about the candidate but not answer questions. For the no-show candidate who sends no representative, the moderator or MC will read their statement or excuse if provided. Candidates should silence all electronic devices when seated for questions, as should members of the audience. Please silence your cell phones. Candidates must focus their responses on their own experience, accomplishments, and the qualifications for the office they are seeking. Candidates must not disparage other candidates. If a candidate makes disparaging remarks about another candidate, they will receive one warning. If they continue, they will lose the remainder of their time for that question. With a third attack, they will be removed from the candidate tables. Each candidate must pay attention to the timekeeper cards. These are the timekeepers to your left, my right. 3 minutes for opening remarks in ballot order. 1.5 minutes response time per prepared question, starting in ballot order. 1 minute response time for audience questions, and 2 minutes for closing remarks. All candidates will be given the opportunity to answer each question. Questions will be repeated for each candidate before their response. Candidates should listen carefully to the questions and answer them completely. They may ask the moderator to repeat the question if needed, but their time will not be extended. The initial question will be addressed to the candidates in ballot order. That is for County Judge Josh Homan, Josh Vandenberg. I don't see Craig Moreau.
He does have a statement.
Michael Westford, and William Burson.
Craig Murray does have a statement.
It's sir. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Each subsequent question will be initially directed to the next candidate in the ballot order, so that each candidate will have questions directed to them first. So we're not going to mess this up this time. So we're going to let the opening statements commence with candidate Josh Homan.
Thank you, sir. First off, thanks to the organizers of this event, and thanks to all those who were able to make it out. I think it's very meaningful to take time to engage in our county's future, and I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Special thank you to my beautiful wife, Kelly, who's sitting back there, for supporting this endeavor and allowing me to be here in front of you today, and as well as her selfless dedication to our family, because that's where it starts. My name is Josh Homan, and I am running for Fayette County Judge. I'm a husband, a father, an Army veteran, a small business owner, and currently am a city councilman in Flatonia. And I'm running for Fayette County Judge because I believe our community deserves steady leadership, practical solutions, and a judge that puts people first. I spent over a decade of my life in the United States Army as an aviation officer and a pilot. I was responsible for leading large teams, managing complex budgets, and solving very difficult problems, and making difficult decisions under pressure. Those experiences taught me that leadership isn't about titles. It's about accountability, preparation, and earning trust. When it was time for our family to grow, we left the Army lifestyle behind and moved home to Fayette County, where we knew we could put down roots and raise our children, a place where people know their neighbors, where communities still show up for one another, and where children can be raised with strong values, a sense of responsibility, and a pride about where they came from. That's the Fayette County my family chose to return to, and it's the Fayette County I want to protect and strengthen for the next generation. That is the first and most important reason I'm running for Fayette County Judge. But preserving what makes Fayette County great doesn't happen automatically. It requires leadership that understands how to manage growth without losing identity, progress without sacrificing values, and efficiency without forgetting people. As County Judge, my focus will always be on thoughtful, steady decision-making that keeps Fayette County a place where families want to stay, an ideal place to raise children, and a place where those children can succeed. Fayette County needs a county judge who understands the bottom line, knows how to lead and motivate people, and has proven their merit. Someone who can bring people together, listen carefully, and make decisions with long-term consequences in mind. My professional, military, and public service experience have prepared me to do exactly that. I understand the importance of fiscal responsibility, transparent government, and working collaboratively with the Commissioners Court, county employees, first responders, and community leaders. I know the importance of building and fostering a positive culture in a large organization because I've done it. I look forward to our discussion tonight and to earning your vote. Thank you, and may God bless Fayette County.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. Mr. Van.
Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone who took the time to be here today. My name is Josh Vanderberg, and I'm running for Fayette County Judge because I believe our county deserves steady, experienced leadership and a government that works for the people that it serves, as well as echoes their values. I studied paramedic technology and business at Glenn College and graduated with an associate's degree. I then attended Sam Houston State University and studied political science and will graduate from Texas A&M University with a master's in public administration at the end of this year. I've worked for Fayette County EMS for a total of 11 years, 6 of those as a paramedic and captain, and the last 5 years as EMS director. I've also served in some capacities as firefighter paramedic elsewhere. I have a beautiful wife, Kristen, a 6-year-old daughter, Haley, and a 3-year-old son, Mason, and we live in Mullins Prairie currently. For the past several years, I've had the honor of serving as your Fayette County EMS director. In that role, I've worked directly with our Commissioners Court, managed multi-million-dollar budgets, built new stations, expanded services to different areas of the county, and improved financial performance, not only leading our county, but also leading response teams from all around the state in both local and federally declared disasters. County Judge isn't just a ceremonial role, it's the Chief Budget Officer, the presiding officer of Commissioners Court, and the leader of our emergency management efforts. These aren't theoretical responsibilities. For me, they're what I already do every day and have devoted my entire career towards. I believe that government should be transparent, fiscally responsible, and focused on results, not politics. Under my leadership at EMS, we've improved service delivery while being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars, and that same mindset will guide me as county judge. I'm running because I love this county and I want it to prosper. My wife, Kristen, is a 4th-generation Fayette County resident. I celebrated many of my early life milestones here in the county, and we raise our kids here. This isn't just a career stepping stone for me, it's where I would like to spend the rest of my career, keeping this county a wonderful place to live and grow a family. I respect everyone on this stage, and I believe my experience in county government, emergency management, and financial oversight has uniquely prepared me for this job. I'm not going to have to start at square one and learn the job or the players involved. I'm ready to lead our county on day one, and I commit that I will grow in this role for as long as you entrust it to me.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderberg. I will now read the statement for candidate Moreau. Oh, thank you. Craig Moreau brings decades of public service experience across various fronts: emergency management, fire service, the private sector, and nonprofit leadership. As CEO of 2 nonprofit organizations, one of which he founded, he has demonstrated a sustained commitment to strengthening communities through dedicated service and innovation. Moreau retired as senior captain with the Houston Fire Department after a distinguished career. He previously served as the Chief of Emergency Management and Homeland Security for Fayette County and currently serves as the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Fayetteville. In addition to his emergency management duties, he worked as a paramedic, preceptor, and fire instructor, and currently volunteers with the Mulligan Volunteer Fire Department. His community involvement extends to leadership roles in civic and public safety organizations. Moreau serves as past president and zone chair of the Lions Club and LaGrange and Lions Club, and sits on the Flatonia Police Training Committee and the Fayetteville School Safety Committee, where he applies his expertise to enhance community resilience and safety. He also serves as an instructor with the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Program. He's Vice President of the Board of Directors of the Gardenia Jansen Animal Shelter. In December 2025, he will complete his studies, and he's completed his studies at Texas A&M University School of Law, earning both a Master of Legal Studies and a graduate certificate in healthcare policy as he continues to expand his professional capabilities in the service of the public. His undergraduate degree in interdisciplinary studies from the University of Houston downtown focused on business management and nonprofit and government leadership. Completed while working full-time, his educational journey demonstrates to working adults that furthering education is possible despite its challenges. He's married to Jamie Moreau, public servant, teacher, and member of multiple community organizations. They are raising 3 remarkable children. Reagan, a biochemistry student at Texas A&M, expected to graduate at just age 18. Madison, 10 years old, an accomplished student, quilter, athlete, 4-H outstanding junior, and Lincoln, 7, an aspiring artist who volunteers at the animal shelter, helping dogs and cats in need of homes to acclimated children. The Moreau family is deeply involved in church activities, charitable work, and volunteer organizations throughout their community. The family is restoring one of the original Fayette County homes, largely due to work themselves. They share a love of family, and that's it. Sorry, concept. All right, we'll move on to Mr. Sprecher.
Howdy, folks. First, let me say thank you to all the volunteers who helped put this event together today, and thank you for all you concerned citizens that took time out of your day to come listen to us speak. My name is Mike Swesberg. I live in the Dubina area of Fayette County. I'm serving my 8th year as a member of the Schulenburg ISD School Board, 3rd year as president, and I've served 22 years, or actually 24 years on the Schulenburg Festival Association, 20 of those years being festival president. I've been living in Fayette County since 1977, when as a 9-year-old my family moved us back home. My father grew up in the Ohio-Freiburg area. I attended St. Rose School and later Bishop Forrest High School in Schulenburg, Texas. Spent 2 years at Lynn College before transferring to Texas A&M, where in 1991 I graduated from the College of Agricultural Economics with a focus in agribusiness. Had a lot of opportunities coming out of college, but Fayette County was home, and there was no doubt I was coming back here. So I accepted a quality control management position at International Muffler Company in Schulenburg. In 1995, I started a 30-plus year career at what at that time was Mid-America Dairymen's, now Dairy Farmers of America. We co-pack shelf-stable dips for Frito-Lay. We produce about 65% of all the dip served in the United States from Frito-Lay comes from Schulenburg, Texas. That career has afforded me the opportunity to work directly with human resources, safety, environmental, logistics, warehouse management, emergency management, basically every aspect of business I've been fortunate enough to interact with. I've sat in boardrooms, I've given presentations to executives from DFA, PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, various other organizations. I've had the ability to work with the European Union, FDA, USDA, EPA, TCEQ, and a National Labor Relations Board, and pretty much anybody else who has an acronym in their name. It's given me a lot of opportunities. I've spent almost 20 plus years in some type of training capacity. I've written and implemented safety programs, environmental programs, emergency protocols. I've led arbitration teams, negotiation teams, just had a wide variety of experience, and I feel those experiences will help suit me for a position of Fayette County Judge. The reality, folks, is Fayette County is not a secret. The world knows that we're here, and we have a choice. We can either sit back and try and stove off the opportunities we don't want, or we can be proactive and go out there and find the opportunities we want. So we have to be fiscally responsible. I think there's some economies of scale across precincts and other counties that can help us in our emergency management. That needs to be more community driven. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westford. Mr. Bernstein.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate everyone being here today. My name is William Patrick Burnson. I'm here with about half my family. My beautiful wife, Brianna, is sitting back there, and I've got 3 of my sons in the way back. I'm not from Fayette County, but we moved here as soon as we could. So we moved here in 2004. All of my children were born here. We have 6 children, age 8 through 21. And so 3 of them are adult children, and 4 of them are working actively in this community, and they're still here. I am 49 years old. I've run a business for 23 years, and with my family, I'm here to tell you I've earned every single one of these gray hairs. I've been many years already without my father and my mother. I've had to make decisions on my own for decades. A little bit about my personal journey. I quit chewing tobacco 4 years ago. About 14 months I quit drinking alcohol. Intoxication by an alcoholic beverage is grounds for removal from office for a county judge. And I take this very seriously. And so when the emergency call comes in, you can bet that I'll be sober. Like I said, I'm not from here, but descendant of immigrants, German immigrants, my family, the Helscher Buskemper family, moved here in the 1850s, and they settled right down the road in Ross Prairie. So while I'm not from here, I have a tremendous amount of family in this area. And in fact, there's a museum to my family in LaGrange, so our roots run deep. I fit right in. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm not trying to change the culture. I'm here because we love it here, and this is our home. So I am a land surveyor by trade. For 23 years, I've had a surveying business. That's 23 years making all the decisions, managing budgets, managing profits, saving money. 23 years of feast and famine of the business cycle. I know what it's like to be low on funds and still have to pay taxes. And I want to conduct the affairs of the county in the most conservative manner possible with respect to the people's money. I am a 1990 graduate of A&M in Corpus Christi. I have a Bachelor of Science degree. I'm very passionate about transparency. One of the reasons I'm so thankful to see everyone here is because for the last 4 years I've been attending all the Commissioners Court meetings and participating in the decision-making process and studying county policy. We must get all county officials again involved in the decision-making, and we need as many citizens as possible. And I can't wait to talk more about that as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnson. The first question will be from Mr. Homan. We'll move to my right, your left. There are currently 10 different volunteer fire departments that serve the citizens of Fayette County. While volunteers do a good job, there is one hurdle they cannot overcome, which is response time. People no longer work or live a mile or 2 from the station, and many cannot leave their regular jobs to respond to an emergency. This creates a delayed response when dispatched to a fire, medical emergency, vehicle accident, or other crisis when seconds count. The citizens of Fayette County deserve a first-class fire service just like we presently have for the Sheriff's Department and EMS. Here's the question. Would you support the possibility of having some paid firefighters on duty to help improve service and lower response times?
Thank you for the question. I think most importantly, what I'd like to say is I appreciate each and every one of those volunteer fire departments that you mentioned. While response times may sometimes not be ideal because of the reasons that you addressed, they do phenomenal work once they get on scene, and I know many of them, and I'm very thankful for what they do in our community. Regarding a professional fire service, I'm certainly not opposed to the possibility of a professional fire service. That said, I think that would take a great deal of consideration because there's a beautiful thing when volunteer firefighters are serving the communities that they're from and the communities in which they live. And so I don't think that was something we could just do lightly and try to convert those organizations into something else. So I support the volunteer fire departments that we have in the county, and I would be open to arguments and presentations about potentially some change in the structure of how those fire departments work.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. I'll repeat the question from Mr. Vandenberg. There are currently 10 different volunteer fire departments that serve the citizens of Fayette County. While the volunteers do a good job, there's one hurdle they cannot overcome, which is response time. People no longer work or live a mile or two from the station, and many cannot leave their regular jobs to respond to an emergency. This creates delayed response time. The citizens of Fayette County deserve a first-class fire service, just like we presently have for the Sheriff's Department and EMS. Would you support the possibility of having some paid firefighters on duty to help improve service and lower response time?
I think you have to be incredibly delicate with how you approach this, because all of our volunteer fire departments in the county are partners with the county. They're not a county entity. And those people know the needs of their individual communities better than any county-wide or precinct-wide office could possibly understand. I do agree that there's gaps, and I think that those gaps, I think this has to be collaborative more so than we're telling you you need to have faster response times, and I think they can't just come to the county and say, hey, we need you to fund full-time firefighters. In the 2026 budget for Fayette County, $1.186 million will be contributed to split amongst 10 fire departments. And while that seems like a lot of money, when you consider the fact that the grass truck these days costs $300,000, that gets a lot more lean. So there's vehicles that can provide that kind of that sustenance for these departments and keep them going. But in my opinion, we're best served right now by just supporting the volunteer fire departments that we have and ensuring that we're doing whatever we can as a partner organization at the county to make sure that those volunteers keep showing up. And maybe the more beneficial thing is to partner with employers and say, hey, this is why this is a vital need. Can the county ask you to please let these guys keep coming to work so that we avoid having to fund these departments fully?
Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. Mr. Joyster, I'll repeat the question for you. There are currently 10 different volunteer fire departments to serve Fayette County. While volunteers do a good job, there is a gap in response time frequently. People no longer work or live a mile or two from the station and cannot leave their regular jobs to respond to an emergency. This creates delays in response time. The citizens of Fayette County deserve a first-class fire service, just like we presently have in the Sheriff's Department and EMS. Would you support the possibility of having some paid firefighters on duty to help improve service and lower response time?
Well, in the spirit of the question, I'll say yes. I would support the possibility because on the surface it sounds really great. However, I will say I'm someone who's very deliberate. I think there needs to be a sincere and very deep analysis done when you start talking about things like that. You're talking about 10 fire departments, can't have one single person work together, so you're talking about potentially 20 full-time employees. That's across 24 hours a day. So you're potentially talking about 40 new employees. Much like Josh said, I think the best place to start would be start talking to some of the employers. I can tell you firsthand, I fought very hard at my current employer when we had volunteer firemen on staff they didn't want to let people go. If you got a production line, what do you do? I think as a business, if you have a fire, you're going to expect them to be there and be there quickly. And you need to step up and take that responsibility as part of the community. So I think we would have to really dive deep, figure out what the cost and benefit relationship is, and keep in mind, I think our response times are actually pretty good. You have a problem in Houston with traffic, there's going to be a long delay. I'm very proud of the response time of our Fayette County volunteer firemen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burnson, I'll repeat the question for you. There are currently 10 volunteer fire departments that serve Fayette County. response time is said to suffer at times. This creates a delayed response when they're dispatched to a fire, medical emergency, or vehicle accident or other crisis. The citizens of Fayette County deserve a first-class fire service just like we presently have for the Sheriff's Department and the EMS. Would you support the possibility of having some paid firefighters on duty to help improve service and lower response times?
Thank you for the question. First, I want to say that I'm not going to take a position on whether or not I would support a full-time volunteer fire department. That's a decision that needs to be made by the community, and it would be a heavy decision because of all the costs involved. So before I would ever support anything like that, we would need to have a lot of conversations and really investigate. And like others have said, businesses can either pay taxes for a fire department, or they can consider letting their employees off to go fight fires. And so I would suggest a campaign to get our local businesses. And I recognize that everybody can't let their employees off, but some of these businesses can, and I would say that they should. And I just wanted to reiterate that before you consider adding a new program, you better consider the cost. Because once you add a new program, it's very hard to take it away. And I do support the fire department, and I don't know whether or not they need more money. I'm sure they always need more money. But those are all things that we need to discuss as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnson. The next question will start with Mr. Vandenberg. What can Fayette County do to address the stray animal crisis in the county?
Let me consult my notes again. I wrote some numbers down. The stray animal crisis, the county sheriff actually has the responsibility to manage some of those aspects of that. And so we have a fantastic nonprofit organization in the county, the Gardenia Jansen Animal Shelter, that does a great job, and they try to partner and have conversations with all of our city governments and all of our county government to get that support, as well as they do a giant amount of fundraising to support their efforts as well. And so what the county can do is, we increased more than double the county's contribution to the animal shelter in this 2026 fiscal year. And what the county can do outside of just increasing and throwing our own money at the problem is we can be good partners with the animal shelter and advocating for that and talking about that mission with all of the city governments. And I think you could talk to the animal shelter and find out that I've actually already been a part of those conversations and helping to try and collaborate on that. And so that animal shelter is critical to our county's ability to respond to that crisis, and we've got to keep supporting it.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford. Mr. Westbrook, I'll repeat the question for you. What can the Fayette County do to address the stray animal crisis?
I think punitive is the main answer. I mean, if we've got stray animals, the people responsible for them need to be held accountable. I know that Gardenia Jansen Animal Shelter does a wonderful job, but the taxpayers in this county, we have enough issues in this county. We should not have to worry about doubling the size of an animal shelter because people can't control their animals. There's just too many. We're talking about potentially funding additional firefighters, and we have to worry about stray cats and dogs. It needs to go back to the responsibility of the people that own them, and they should not be allowed to get away with just a slap on the wrist. I mean, that's anything beyond that, we're wasting taxpayer dollars. It needs to go back to the people responsible for the animals.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just answer the question. The animal shelter is a great example of a private organization that provides a public service. If the animal shelter were not there, then the county would be bearing the cost of that. And I know the animal shelter does a lot of private fundraising, so in doing so, they save us a lot of tax dollars. Their funding has been increased recently, and whether or not I'm sure they need need more funding. But again, that's something that needs to be discussed as a community. And any part of that discussion needs to include some political pressure, perhaps put on the area's cities as well to contribute. It's not a cost that ought to be borne by the county alone. We need to find out how much the cities are contributing to the burden and pressure them to provide some of the funding for that. And the rest of it can be handled in the Commissioner's Court with lots of animal-loving citizens in the room to help us make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnson. Mr. Homan, I'll repeat the question for you. Okay, go for it.
I'll just go straight into the answer. I think that, it was brought up when the commissioner candidates were up here earlier, but, partnering with the animal shelter that's already doing a tremendous job and ensuring that they're getting funding. Of course, there's a limit, but I know that the county funds, and as well from my experience on Flatonia City Council, there are requests and money provided to different nonprofits, including the animal shelter. And so hopefully that can be sustained and that can be continued. But there is an element of personal responsibility to this. Somebody owns those animals, and we've got to, that's kind of a cultural issue that we have. We've got to decide as a community that we're going to take care of animals the way that they should be taken care of. And so some of that doesn't come from the government. Some of that is neighbors, encouraging neighbors to take care of their responsibilities, and those responsibilities include animals. Additionally, the county could probably help out with a campaign to encourage the spay and neuter of animals, and that's something that perhaps takes communication and messaging, but could be worthwhile, and the animal shelter would be a great organization to partner with that in that effort. And then the last thing I want to point out is while the sheriff's department may have some responsibility to deal with a dog that's running around or something like that, when a law enforcement officer is taking care of a stray animal, they're not doing what we probably need them to do, which is police and serve the community as law enforcement officers. And so we got to be very careful with that.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Westbrook. Would you support the implementation of a hospital tax district if the issue arose again? Why or why not?
I would definitely support looking into it. Again, I'm a very deliberate person, so I think you need to do a very deep dive into the cost-benefit analysis. I know other counties around us have successfully done this. However, if I were the county judge working with the Commissioner's Court, if the citizens of Fayette County choose to create a taxing district for that purpose, then we would have a much bigger voice in the hospital. Not meaning that we are going to be on their board of directors choosing doctors and whatnot, but we would definitely have a seat at the table if we're going to help maintain the infrastructure and needs that they have. I think we can all agree that the loss of the hospital here in Fayette County was a major loss for this county. It goes to the quality of life. So I think it's imperative that we do that. One of my goals would be to basically dive into some relationships, build strong relationships with the Glenn colleges and Schulenburg and the hospitals, so that we all have a seat at the table or are making an impact in their decisions. And I think a taxing district is something that we should consider if it can benefit the county.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns.
Yes, I spent a lot of time thinking about the hospital, and there's not nearly enough time in a minute and a half to discuss everything I thought of. I'm not a hospital person, I am a land person. I do not support a property tax for the hospital. There's other alternatives. One, you can have a private entity, and you can have a hospital authority, which would be more akin to government environment. I don't necessarily advocate that either. I did have a kind of an alternative theory idea. It's too late for it now, but the hospital was for sale at 10 cents on the dollar not too long ago, and perhaps the county should have purchased it. And the county, one of the problems with the hospital discussion is everybody wants to stay in the hospital, but it's run by a private organization, and you really don't get any. If we owned the property and leased it out to a private organization, that would have given us some element of oversight over the hospital without running the hospital itself. And so I think it's really too late for those conversations now. I think we're all going to be relying on this new company that's coming in, and hopefully they do a fantastic job. And I really, that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Could you repeat the question?
I can, if I can find it. Would you support the implementation of a hospital tax district if the issue arose again? Why or why not?
At this time, my answer would be no. I believe we should support the private enterprise that is working to reopen the hospital. While we don't know what that's going to look like fully, unless none of us are on the inside of Progressive Health. However, at some point, the market and the demand for services at the hospital has to partially support the hospital itself. That's how business works. That's how the market works. So we need to encourage the hospital's success. But I would be very hesitant to, I think the maximum constitutional amount is like 75 cents per 100 evaluation or something for a hospital tax district. I would be very hesitant to do that, and at this point I do not support the creation of that entity. But I do support the enterprise that's coming in to take over the hospital, and I hope that it works out. And I think a rural emergency hospital is the proper way to get that started, starting with that emergency care and letting demand-supported items, outpatient care, et cetera, fill out the rest of the hospital. I think that's the way forward.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. Mr. Vanderburg, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, sir. So, few people that live in this county have spent more time over the last couple of years stressing over this hospital situation, not only from the loss of the old facility, but in the talks to reopen it under a new name. Short answer, I don't think any single politician should have the decision on whether or not we have a tax district, and I would be open to letting the voters decide that again. The voters spoke loud and clear last time what their answer was, and it was no. Also, that hospital tax would not have saved the hospital, in my opinion. The points that have been made on this stage are completely accurate, that private enterprise needs to take this, and if the hospital can't sustain on its own merits, then we have other options outside of the county. Now, that being said, I think we do need to get behind the efforts to reopen the hospital. I think we do need to try to support it, let them earn this community's trust. And I think the best case scenario for us getting a sustainable hospital is what we are doing right now with a for-profit private company that does rural health care all over the country to open one right here in the village.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderburg. Next question will be starting with Mr. Burnson. Currently, the county's reserve funds are reportedly down to less than the recommended reserve amount to cover 6 months of operating costs. What is your recommendation to increase the reserve funds?
I thank you for bringing that up. As far as I know, I was the first person to start talking about the reserve fund in 2023. I had downloaded the budgets for all the neighboring counties and realized that we had a very, very low reserve fund. In fact, when you look at the history, it was under 1 month's worth of reserve for nearly a decade. And when I looked at the numbers, according to the audited numbers, it's actually only a month and a half. Most people who are involved in business, and it's recommended for your, I'm not going to go through any questions about how to resolve the matter. It's very simple. You spend less than you bring in revenue. And so I'm a conserve and save businessman and not a tax and spend bureaucrat. So every time, and it happens every year, they look at how much new money comes in and they figure out how they're going to spend it all. This year was a little different. So this year they actually did a very good job of budgeting to save money. And they actually did well. So we don't have the 2024 audit yet, so we don't know where we stand as of 2024, and all we have now are budgeted numbers. The situation does seem to be improving, but we're still under 3 months, and the standard for counties is 6. And so it takes conservatism in spending and always raising more money than you expend in expenses, and over time, instead of spending that money on new programs and increased spending, you simply save it. And before long, you'll be able to do deficit spending and actually cut the cost rate, the tax rate.
Thank Mr. Burnson. Mr. Holman, you need me to repeat the question?
Go ahead, please.
Currently, the county's reserve funds are less than the recommended 6 months of operating costs. What is your recommendation to increase the reserve funds?
I don't think there's any need to overcomplicate this. If you think about the county's funds, just like if you had an emergency fund for your household and an emergency occurred or a little bit of overspending occurred or potentially even something unexpected came up with the kids or something else, you got to come up with a practical reason, have a practical way to restock that emergency fund. And typically, you're not going to do it all at once. You're not going to put all the money back in there in 1 month, maybe not even 1 year. So we can talk about plans, we can talk about theories, we can talk about what a political conservative would do. That's all great, but we have to operationalize that particular endeavor to restock that emergency fund to, let's say, 6 months. If it's a 3 month difference or a 5 month difference or whatever it is. And so we come up with a goal, and maybe that's replenishing that fund over a period of 2 to 3 years. I don't know that it needs to happen all in the same year, but in doing that, we can make it hurt a little bit less on the areas that we have to trim. And it's important to realize as we do that, emergency funds, and I'm not really speaking about its current state, but emergency funds are there for emergencies. So if the county should have to dip into an emergency fund because of something that was completely unforeseen, and I don't mean overspending, I mean a valid purpose for the emergency fund, then the county should feel okay doing that. But the question is, how do we replenish that fund? Because one day you'll need it again.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Mr. Vanderburg?
Yes, sir. Can you restate the question?
I'll be glad to. Currently, the county's reserve funds are down to less than the recommended balance of 6 months of operating costs. What is your recommendation to increase the reserve funds?
Thank you. So first, what I would say, and it's a harsh term, but I would sort of reject the idea that that is the current state of things. As Mr. Burnson said, we haven't received our budgeted audit yet to know what that looks like. He did state that it seems to have been improving over the last couple of years. With the 3.5% cap on revenue from tax dollars year to year, as set by the legislature, and rampant inflation that we saw because of all of the response to the pandemic and all the free money that was infused into the market, the cash position of the county became very stressed. And so we are building that back up, and I think we do a good job of budgeting. We can always do better. And what I think we need to do is we need to be looking at this strategically. The county needs to have a strategic plan. And part of that strategic plan needs to be our cash balance. And it needs to be these big expenditures that come up. Because, an emergency expenditure isn't just one you didn't plan for all of the time. That can't be the only qualifier. So I do think we have to be more strategic in our budgeting. But I think also we overestimate our expenditures and we underestimate our revenues every year. And that's good, but it also tells a more grim story when questions like these are asked. So I'm interested to see what those audited financials say. But obviously, that's the strategic plan and budgeting that way is important, and we have to address this problem that way.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderburg. Mr. Wester,
I think I got it.
you got it.
Yeah, so step one is you have to make sure your current budget is balanced. Step two is, like Mr. Holman said, you can't do it overnight. It has to be a systematic process. So you cut a little bit from this department this year, the next year, so everybody doesn't feel the burn all at once, and you can plan around that. Third, I should say, I really believe across our precincts, and I believe there's opportunity between counties or economies of scale. I do not think we take advantage when we've got our individual precincts, but I think there's some opportunity there to do some economies of scale, even some potential hedging on some of our utilities and things of that nature. But the final thing would be accountability. I know from firsthand experience, we had a road done around our property last year, and the state was managing that project, but I know for a fact it cost the county a lot more than it should have just because that contractor was behind, had delays, and we as a county were paying for their delays. And we should never allow the state to take advantage of taxpayer funds because they can't get their contractors to do their job.
sir. I'll be going back to Josh Holman for the next question. As the chief mental health official in the county, as a county judge, how could the county's current handling of mental health needs for our residents be improved?
I think that what's important to understand with mental health is there's a mental health crisis across the board, not just in this county, but in every community. And it's made worse by things like, drugs or family issues or, parental issues. Different things contribute to mental health. It's not as simple as this person has a mental health issue and now here's your medicine, take it. That's not really how it works. So I think one thing that we need to focus on with mental health in Fayette County is exactly what our problem is. We have to know, and I don't mean what diagnosis or what, I mean, what is the size and the scope of the problem, and then what is the fix to that problem, and then how does that get operationalized to put our county in a better position when it comes to mental health. I can tell you right off the bat that the county and the people, although the county judge may be the chief mental health officer, the county judge him or herself is not necessarily the best person to deal with someone who's struggling with mental health. So we have to partner with individuals, with organizations, with healthcare services who are best able to care for those individuals. And that will, again, reduce some of the burden off of our law enforcement agencies, because that's one of the biggest things that they deal with on a daily basis is mental health, not just crime.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Mr. Vandenberg, you need me to
Maybe to keep me organized in my answer,
No
you
worries.
to repeat the question.
As the chief mental health official in the county, how could the county's current handling of mental health needs for our residents be improved?
I will tell you, so our sheriff's office has a crisis intervention team, and the investigator that handles that, and our sheriff's office's response to mental health in our county is the model for rural Texas. I don't know that they could be doing a better job responding to mental health needs. Also, I serve on the advisory council for the Greater Fayette Community Foundation's Red Door for Mental Health Fund. The three things that we prioritize in our efforts are decreasing the stigma around seeking mental health care, increasing the number of providers in our county, and increasing the access to our providers in the county. So, partnering with great community foundations that already exist, that are already doing this with private funding, is a wonderful method by which we can attack this problem. And then also recognizing that we already have a fantastic process in place, and that the dedicated team at the sheriff's office and some of those nonprofits the county contributes to every year, most of those have at least a tangential relationship into mental health and the response to those problems. Thanks. I'm having to catch those around the pool. But that's really all I have to say. I mean, I think we're doing a fantastic job as it is, and while we could always build on that, I truly believe we're the model. Being based on my experience in other places, specifically in Houston as a firefighter and paramedic, the treatment that they get not only from our healthcare system here, but from that deputy is wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Got it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, working with the school, I suspect there's not a school in Fayette County that doesn't have the same problem. A majority of the school's problem deals around mental health. And I agree with Josh. Fayette County has some remarkable services within the sheriff's department, the nonprofits. We have a tremendous network. The problem is mental health is becoming an issue beyond what a school or what a county can deal with. We've got to find a way to get with our state legislatures and address this issue, because it is a state problem and is going to continue to cause havoc with our law enforcement, our schools, all of our communities. It has to be something done on a state level. In turn, you can't just throw up your hands. So if I was a county judge, what I would try to do is reach out to some of the neighboring counties, again, in these economies of scale, to see, can we do something as a partner? Can we partner together to get increased services within our communities? The only other thing I would do is, I think you can never underestimate the power of faith. And I think we need to find a way to bring our faith leadership together into some type of religious council and see if they can't offer some guidance, some assistance, a refuge, someplace for these people to go and you seek some guidance and counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Burnson, please repeat the question. Absolutely. As the chief mental health official in the county, how could the county's current handling of mental health needs for our residents be improved? If any.
I don't mind admitting that I wasn't even aware that the county judge was the chief mental health officer. That's something I'll have to look into. And while I'm doing that, I'll have to find out what the sheriff's department is doing. My initial reaction to it is that there's a lot of great organizations in our area, not just in Fayette County, but in surrounding counties, that do lots of charity work for anyone who's indigent. And actually, Fayette County has a large indigent care budget. And so this is another type of private organization doing government work. And I would propose that we make sure they get the proper funding and the proper oversight and work with those partners who are already in the community and make sure the sheriff's department has the tools they need as well if they don't have everything they need. And really lean heavily on the private organizations that are also getting private funding. So it's not totally relying on tax dollars. But again, these are things these are conversations we need to have as a community in commissioner's court with lots of citizens sitting in seats. And anytime that's the case, you're going to get a lot more decisions in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnson. At this time, we're going to take a 15-minute break, or 10-minute break. 10-minute break, sorry. I've got one more question from the committee's questions before we get to the audience questions. So I'll go ahead and start. Mr. Manager, give one example of how you've worked with a deliberative body in arriving at an acceptable resolution of a major problem.
Well, in low-hanging fruit here, in the response to the flooding in Kerr County, we got there, and after the initial kind of dust started to settle from the initial kind of response, the time to stand up a incident command infrastructure came up. And so I was put into the role of the operations section chief for both the Kerrville flood and the flood that happened in northern Travis, southern Williamson County. And so, there was multiple scenarios in there where, a group of dedicated professionals in a room, with statewide resources being pulled very thin in multiple different directions, we all had to have really heavy debate. And we were at each other at times, and really heavy, really passionate debate. And at the end of the day, we all have to walk out of that room with one solid answer, one solid decision. We all have to support each other so that we can make sure that at the end of the day, Texans got the service that they need.
Thank you, sir. Sure. Give one example of how you've worked with a deliberative body in arriving at an acceptable resolution of a major problem.
So I guess the best example I could give is I was working with the National Labor Relations Board on some issues we had with some employees, and unfortunately I can't disclose the nature of the concerns, but I had the responsibility of protecting the company, but then I also had a moral responsibility to look out for the best interests of our employees, because the people that work for me are like family. My career would probably be a lot more advanced if I had looked out more for myself than the people I work for, but that's important to me. So I was able to work with them at the National Labor Relations Board to come up with a solution that protected the company, but still allowed these individuals to go on and pursue other opportunities in their career. And I'm glad to say that all three of them are now leading successful careers in another industry, but their lives turned out really well.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns, and I'll repeat the question for you. give an example of how you've worked with a deliberative body in arriving at an acceptable resolution of a major problem?
Deliberative assembly is like a commissioner's court.
A deliberative body would be a group of people.
And so I've never been on a deliberative assembly or body before, but I have spent the last 4 years participating in the decision-making process in the commissioner's court. Now, I don't get a vote there, so all I have is my persuasion and my wise counsel. So the best example I can think of is in 2023 when I started questioning the subdivision regulations. I would ask about every subdivision. I would point out the flaws in the subdivisions that came through Commissioner's Court because I knew our regulations were not up to par and that there was a lot of lacking regulations and that needed to be improved. And so the way that I did this is I asked questions and exposed the problems with the ordinance, and it didn't take 2 to 3 months before they realized they were going to have to update and rewrite them. So all that talk you heard earlier about the subdivisions was because I, as a citizen, was sitting in a room in a commissioner's court asking questions. And of course, I am an expert on subdivisions and anything related to land. And so my advocacy in that case, they patched some holes in the regulations and they're going to be rewritten. And that was simply through my persuasion. I didn't even get a vote in that case. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. Mr. Homan, give an example of how you have worked with the deliberative body in arriving at an acceptable resolution to a major problem.
Many examples come to mind, and one on city council in Flatonia comes to mind in particular. But I'm going to go a different direction, and I'm going to go back to my military service. So I commanded a company of approximately just under 300 soldiers, and one of the things about aviation and the military in general is it's a very serious business, and everything is very expensive. Well, we had a number of helicopters in the unit, and we're responsible for the maintenance of those helicopters. Well, a natural part of human behavior is sort of hoarding parts that you know that you're going to need. Aviation uses what's called time before overhaul, or planned obsolescence. So you're replacing parts before they become broken or inoperable. The stockage that we were allowed to maintain was far too low to accommodate the lead times that it took to get these critical components to our maintainers. So we had to go on a board and essentially argue that we needed our stockage adjusted from the rest of the Army's stockage level so that we could make those critical repairs in a timely manner in an austere environment before we're deployed. And we used data. We brought in the stakeholders and industry partners from General Dynamics and Sikorsky, used their expertise, and we're able to get the stockage adjusted to deliver those parts on those airframes in the support of our mission.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. I'm now going to go on to questions from the audience. Mr. Question. What is your opinion regarding the tax incremental reinvestment zone proposal being vetted by the city of LaGrange? Would you support it or not, and why, if not?
Okay. Can you read it one more time?
Sure. What is your opinion regarding the tax incremental reinvestment zone, or TIRZ, proposal that is currently being vetted by the city of LaGrange? Would you support it or not, and why?
Okay, thank you for the question. Also, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not aware of the details of that proposal. If it's along the lines of what I'm thinking and reinvesting some of the tax dollars, I will say that I think that's something that not only as a county but as individual cities we need to look at. I know, in my personal opinion, the Economic Development Commission in Schulenburg does not do all they can to promote growth and opportunity within the city. It is one of the things that on my list, if elected as the next county judge, is to work not only with the local cities' economic development commissions, but also the state to bring opportunity and reinvest in our communities. That's really a great way for us to take tax dollars and turn it into new opportunities. But again, without understanding the details and intricacies, I hate to come in and say whether it's I would support it or not, but in principle, I do like the idea of taking what we have and turning it into something else.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burnson, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your opinion regarding the tax incremental reinvestment zone, aka TERS proposal, being currently vetted by the city of LaGrange? Would you support it or not, and why?
I do not support the tax reinvestment zone. I think it's a great opportunity. First off, it mainly benefits the city, and it locks county funding into the matter as well. And there's a council and all kinds of stuff, but I didn't see the benefit for the county, and I don't think the county's funds should be tied up in that matter. I think the Commissioner's Court should maintain control of all those funds. Quite frankly, I feel like the reinvestment zone is a great way for the city to micromanage development, and I generally would like that too. In Commissioner's Court, the city manager repeatedly mentioned that we can make them do more amenities and higher standards and improvements. Well, while they're using public funds for these things, all that does is drive up the cost of the real estate and makes the housing more unaffordable. And so I don't see the point in that. I feel like they should be, if they're going to subsidize anything, it should be affordable housing. I don't mean low rent housing. I mean something that our children can afford to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnson. Mr. Homan, I'll repeat the question for you. What is your opinion regarding the tax incremental reinvestment zone, TERS proposal, being currently vetted by the city of LaGrange? Would you support it or not, and why?
In general, that's something I'm very skeptical of. Taking tax money and setting it aside for anything has consequences, because while it may seem like a prudent choice to entice development or subsidize some sort of industry, the question is, what are the costs long-term of doing that? What would the market have provided? What would have gone in had the government not stepped in and subsidized? I'm not intimately familiar with that plan, and I have not spoken to the city manager or the mayor of LaGrange about those particular issues. So I certainly would want to have that conversation. But by and large, I'm very skeptical of the set aside of those tax dollars as is being discussed in the TERS.
Thank you, Mr. Homan. Mr. Vandiver, I'll repeat the question for you. You got it?
Yeah. So I'm pretty familiar with the TERS idea. I don't support it, but I want to offer the caveat that, being that economic growth or economic development activities are a vital way to offset the funding of county government operations outside of property taxes. And so, being that, we need to have ambulances running, we need to have sheriff's deputies patrolling, we need to have roads being repaired, that's going to come from either economic development or property taxes. That being said, this proposal, I don't think the county was going to have much more skin in the game financially and much less decision-making capability, and for that reason, among some others, I just don't support it. Don't support this go-around.
Thank you, Mr. Vandiver. The next question, starting with Mr. Burnson. This is an audience question. Do any of you have experience talking with the state government leaders in grants and needs of Fayette County? Any experience in obtaining
Obtaining grants? No, unfortunately, I do not have any experience. Perhaps I should pick another topic and talk on that and say that's okay. I'll relinquish my time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Homan, do you have any experience talking with state leaders who are in charge of grants and needs that could benefit Fayette County?
I have not spoken personally to individuals at the state who directly provide grants, although with my duties on city council, I have spoken with grant writers. I have helped prioritize grants that were relevant to the needs of our community that we pursued and won. And beyond that, outside of the subject of grants, I've worked with state officials, Texas state officials, as well as officials from other states in my capacity as an Army officer. And a lot of that is coordinating the complex, or really navigating the complex bureaucracy between federal government entities like the Department of Defense and state entities, and working together for whether it's emergency management type things or training, etc. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Mr. Vanderbilt.
Yes, in each of the last two legislative sessions, I've spent a very large amount of time driving to Austin and meeting with legislators on issues that are impactful to Fayette County, mostly surrounding emergency response. I met with the Senate Committee on State Affairs and Health and Human Services, as well as the House Committee on, I think it's Health and Human Services, but please, give me some grace there. I was one of the integral pieces of getting the House Bill 3000 passed, which will provide $350,000 to Fayette County towards the purchase of one of our ambulances this year, and multiple other pieces of legislation.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Holman, I think this will end up being our last question. Oh, I'm sorry. That's fine. I apologize.
That's the worst thing that happens to me today. We'll be good.
The first time I said that today.
I don't have a lot of extensive experience working with state leaders on grants, but I do have some experience working through the school district as a board president. We applied for numerous grants, $500,000 security grant, some facilities upgrade grants, and I've had the ability to at least talk to some of the staffers of some of the state leaders. I did last year coordinate an effort where I invited Schulenburg, Flatonia, Weimer, and LaGrange, and Fayetteville ISD school board members and superintendents to sit down with Ms. Colcourse and Mr. Kitzman regarding issues facing the schools, not only about the discipline and mental health, but also granting. And I'm happy to say that it was ourselves, Flatonia and Weimer, were able to sit down with Mr. Kitzman. Ms. Colcourse had to abstain from that meeting at the last minute, but we were able to sit down and talk to them about, how do we get granting for the schools, discipline and things of that nature. So it's about reaching out to them, and I will say this, it's about persistence, because you don't always get to talk to the person you want to, but you have to take advantage of that opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Holman, what is your position on the issue of the Lower Colorado River Authority wanting to release more toxins into the Colorado River? What can the county judge do to help protect the county from the adverse effects of this? And I believe there was a hearing scheduled, and I don't know, the county judge requested a hearing, as is their right, a public hearing. And to my knowledge, the meeting never occurred, and I think it was canceled by a state rep, I believe. It's selenium content, I believe.
Can you restate the question?
Sure. What is your position on the issue of LCRA wanting to release more toxins into the Colorado River? What can the county judge do to help protect the county from the adverse effects of this?
I've not been briefed on that particular issue, nor am I aware of the exact specifics or the chemical makeup, nor am I an expert in chemistry or toxins or any of those things. But what I do support is I support clean water, and I support the efforts to ensure that we have that. So if LCRA is releasing more toxins into the river, my first question would be, is it a level that's determined to be safe by the state and federal agencies? And if it's one of those things where it's marginal or it's meeting the max, we need to be very careful of those things, because oftentimes, let's say the maximum parts per million of X chemical, while it may be allowed, it may not be, it's certainly not beneficial or ideal. And so I would need to be briefed on the exact details of that. But as county judge, I would ensure that I know anything regarding something that, an issue like that, because a big portion of that is communication. We've got to communicate that to the public, we've got to communicate that to the Commissioner's Court, and we got to look out for the county.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Mr. Vanderbilt, would you like me to repeat the question? What is your position on the issue of the LCRA wanting to release more toxins into the Colorado River? What can a county judge do to help protect the county from the adverse effects of this?
I'll start by saying that in general, LCRA has been a pretty good partner with the county on most things. My understanding of this issue is the chemical selenium that LCRA is seeking to increase the threshold by which a positive would result in other things in their testing. What's being said is it's safe, it's nothing to worry about, good, but what we've asked for is just have a public hearing on it if it's so safe. Trot your best chemist out in front of a room of Fayette County citizens right here in Ellinger, right out there in Fayetteville, and let your chemist educate us on why it's not a big deal. And the resistance to doing that in and of itself tells me that there's probably something afoul here that we should probably be very skeptical and resistant to. And your only opportunity here to address it is to have relationships with your state legislators, with your senator, with your representative, and go up there and have them ask those questions from sort of the bully pulpit and be able to enforce some level of accountability.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderbilt. Mr. Westers, I'll repeat the question for you, okay? What is your position on the issue of LCRA wanting to release more toxins into the Colorado River? What can the county judge do to help protect the county from the adverse effects of this?
Well, first and foremost, water is one of our most precious resources. And there in no way, shape, or form should a flowing river be considered a sewer. And that's essentially what they're trying to turn it into. It's not the first time that the LCRA has been dumping stuff in there. They continue to want to increase dumping, increasing thresholds and things of that nature. It's completely unacceptable. That river flows through not only Fayette County, but several other counties. And I think of the kind of, I'm not sure everything I would do, but I would be doing something every day. Step one would be to take a picture of water out of the Colorado River. You show up at their offices the next day and ask for a meeting, offer them a glass of water. Beyond that, I would be looking at trying to, whether it holds up or not, what type of injunction can we apply for? Polluting our rivers and using our public rivers as a sewage system is unacceptable in any county it goes to. But I would fight that with every resource that I have, and I have to live up there. And that's just unacceptable.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burnson.
I'm ready. This, like some of the other topics we've talked about tonight, are not really county matters. You can talk about water in the hospital, sound ordinances that haven't come up with this issue. The county really doesn't have anything to do with that. These are state matters. So in this regard, all the county can really do, the county judge, is be a good leader and a good advocate. So it's always appropriate for the county judge to advocate on behalf of the citizens. So when these matters arise, then you come to the county judge and you ask for his advocacy. Let's talk about leadership for a minute, since that's not really relevant to county government. I'd like to talk about leadership qualities. So a good leader leads by example. A good leader is very quick to praise those that he leads and very quick to assume responsibility for problems. A good leader never engages in childish banter with those that they lead. They never ridicule. They never bully. And you lead with grace and forgiveness. I forgive like I want to be forgiven. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the closing remarks, starting with Mr. Holmes.
I'd like to say thank you again to the organizers, fellow candidates, and everyone else who's taken the time to be here. As I stated earlier, it's very meaningful, and I appreciate your interest in the future of our county. You've heard a lot of ideas, experience, priorities, and as you think about this race, I would ask you to consider what kind of leadership you want guiding Fayette County in the years ahead. My life and career have been centered on responsibility and on service. In the the Army, I learned how to lead people, manage resources, and make difficult decisions under pressure, as I previously stated. And always understanding that those decisions have real consequences, and those consequences affect real people. On city council and as a small business owner, I've seen firsthand how government, particularly local government actions, affect families, jobs, and communities, and we've talked about some of those tonight. My family loves Fayette County because of what makes it special, and that's our values, our sense of community, and the way that people look out for one another. I'm running for county judge to protect those things while also ensuring that our county is prepared for growth and the challenges ahead. That means thoughtful leadership that manages that growth without losing our identity. Again, the progress without sacrificing values, and efficiency without forgetting that we're here for the people that we serve. It means fiscal responsibility, transparency, collaboration, understanding that the Commissioner's Court is involved in every decision, not just the county judge. County employees, first responders, and community leaders need to be valued and cherished. The county needs a judge who understands the bottom line, can bring people together, can unify a body, and is willing to make steady, fair decisions with the long-term health of the county in mind. My military, professional, and public service experience have prepared me to do exactly that. I care deeply about this county and about the people who call it home, and about the future that we're leaving to our children. I would be honored to earn your vote for county judge.
Thank you. Mr. Vanderbilt.
I'd like to echo what I believe every one of the candidates here tonight has said is thank you to the crowd for participating in these forums and coming out to hear kind of our opinions on this stuff, and also the opinions that were shared with us in the breaks. This election isn't about politics, it's about much more than that. It's about leadership, it's about who you trust to manage your tax dollars, guide this county through emergencies, and represent you with integrity on the local, state, and even at times federal level. I've spent my career serving Fayette County. I didn't move here to run for office, but here we are. I returned because this is home, and this is because I believe there's no better place to raise a family. I believe in honest government, hard work, and putting people first, and that's shown throughout my career. If elected, I promise to lead with transparency, fiscal responsibility, and common sense. I will listen to both county employees and to county taxpayers. I will collaborate, and I will work every day to make this county stronger for our future generations. I respectfully ask for your vote and support. Together, I hope that we can build a better, more resilient Fayette County for future generations to enjoy. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Gresham.
I too want to thank everybody that was responsible for coordinating this event, the moderators, and everybody that helped put this on. Most importantly, and thank you to all of you citizens that took the time out of your day to come listen to us today. It's obvious by your investment in time being here that you care about Fayette County and what's best for Fayette County. And for that, I applaud you. If you haven't figured it out by now, I am not a polished public speaker. I don't have a big personality, and you're never going to see me on the cover of GQ magazine. What I will tell you is when you get my Whisper, you get all of me. Every role, every job I've ever had, I give 110%. My professional responsibilities have always become ahead of my personal priorities. This always has. That's what my family has always had to understand, because when you put your faith in someone and you need to count on them, you need to know that they're going to be there when you need it most. And so that's something that I pledge to you. I think my years of experience, the skills that I've learned, I've actually been able to, fortunate enough to be able to learn those skills and gain that knowledge here in Fayette County. And that's why I'm running for Fayette County Judge. I'm not looking for a career change, certainly not looking for a title, but I think that the skills that I've learned, the knowledge that I've acquired, I can help protect the core values of Fayette County and also breathe new life into it with new opportunities by going out there and finding those opportunities. You all have a unique opportunity in front of you. You got 5 candidates running for the job. I was kind of hoping I wouldn't like some of these guys, but they're actually pretty likable. But you have that unique opportunity, and all I can tell you is that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will work every day to validate the trust that you put in me. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. Mr. Burnson.
everyone for being here. And I want to say this, I don't think I have yet, but this is going to probably be the most consequential election we experience for maybe the next 16 or 20 years. There's a good chance that the next county judge is going to serve for quite some time. And I want to say that you should elect a conservative businessman who understands the pain that the taxpayers feel. Again, I'm a conserve and save businessman, not a tax and spend bureaucrat. So that doesn't mean that I don't want to support the government and its programs. It just means that I'm very careful in how we apply that support and how quickly. And so I can't wait until I'm county judge, and I hope I see this many people sitting in commissioner's court, because, and I'm not just one to talk about transparency and accountability. I've been doing it for 4 years in my free time. I can't tell you how many countless hours I have spent sitting in commissioner's court advocating for every single one of you, studying policy, participating in the process, and my questions alone, and my wise counsel has made an impact on county policy as only a citizen. And so imagine what I could do with a vote on a court. And imagine what I could do with the support of the citizens. Nearly all of these topics we covered tonight are not the county judge's decision alone, and they need to be made as a community. And you don't just elect politicians and then send them into your government and forget about them. Government is a participation sport. And so I highly encourage you to all come back to the next forum also, and to consider your involvement in your government, because your government needs your wise counsel. That room belongs to you. They are not our rulers. And when I am county judge, I'm going to make sure that the people's voices are heard. Thank you for your time. God bless Fayette County.